Welcome to the Sport and Society Squad Pod, aka the SAS. Each week we bring you 3 sport and society stories to break down and give our sassiest takes. With those sassy takes, we do want to give you a content warning that some of the language used on the pod may be explicit. We ask that you just please be mindful of where you are listening and who you're listening with. With that, let's get into it. I'm here with co-host Arisan and Chelsea. How we doing?
Hello.
We're here.
We're here. Spring forward happened. I didn't even realize it happened until I set my alarm clock to go get up early to go for a walk, and then I woke up and realized I was an hour later, and I was like, wow, cool.
This time of year, I wait for it. I'm like always ready for it, but it catches me off guard every time. I'm so excited though that spring is here.
And you all
love it.
Well, look at you. Well, you also went to the JoJo concert Saturday night, so you had an extra late night, and then
I had to get McDonald's on the way home.
Wow.
You got your fries. Good for you.
Well, and chicken nuggets. Sean was like, you need protein.
Naturally. He's just looking out.
Absolutely.
Anyways, before we get into the playbook for today, I want to go through a quick huddle. We will cover a few sport and society highlights from this past week. So our listeners,
this past year,
for this past forever, as our listeners feel like they are in the know with the sports and pop culture world. Here are some huddle highlights that we won't be breaking down in depth, but think are worthy to know. So in a whirlwind Seattle sports weekend, oh my goodness, Seattle's hockey team, the Kraken, made some major changes, and there was a lot of NHL trade deadline stuff that happened. So this was the year of trade deadlines just fucking up our world.
It was.
But Seattle's
Chaotic.
hockey team main change, they traded away Yanni Gord, Brandon Tanev.
My
Tanev.
favorite player. Tanev. Turbo.
Oh,
We miss you.
And other players from their foundational draft for draft capital. What? Okay.
So they get better draft picks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Like capital,
But-
money. I thought
Yeah.
capital, the team, I don't know, DC
Oh,
capital.
no.
Is
So
that
they're
a
just
team?
taking over the DC team.
I was like, what?
That-
What's
They might
happening?
be, but actually I don't know for what sport. But those were all the players they picked up during the expansion draft.
Okay. The Seattle Seahawks also made some major changes that are rocking us Seahawks fans' life right now. They cut Tyler Lockett, wide receiver. They traded
Among others.
quarterback Geno Smith to the Raiders, so he's joining Pete Carroll over there,
We love that for
reunited.
them.
And they traded wide receiver DK Metcalf, aka Normani's
Normani.
Normani's boo. To the
Normandy Beach.
Normandy to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so the team now has 5 picks in the first 3 rounds of the draft. And one of
Jesus.
our biggest fears is that with the QB spot open, that the Seahawks may be desperate and bring Aaron Rodgers
There's
over
no
to the Seahawks.
fucking
Listen,
way, man.
I
would
feel
be
like
crazy.
the city would riot. Like we wouldn't
No one would go to the games. No one
go
would
to
watch.
games. 100%
That man would have
Also-
to be careful getting into the building. Okay.
to the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
that
not to
matter?
threaten both.
So we'll see. But anyways, pretty much 3 stars just went bye-bye. So we'll
You know
see what
what
happens.
You know what this weekend felt like to me with the sports
What?
world, with all this shifting? I'm like, is this the Great Seattle Fire? Is this what it felt like? Like they're just burning it all down. And now we're going to rebuild. We have to rebuild everywhere.
Is this the Great Seattle
That's
Fire?
crazy.
Is that not a good comparison? Decent.
You know what?
No one died,
Just
but
say. But it feels our
Just like
spirits
our
did a little bit.
fandom's died.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yes.
Well, in NBA news, Nikola Jokic, aka the Joker,
Jokic.
I can- the Joker,
The Joker.
I scored the NBA's first 30-20-20 triple-double, scoring 31 points, 21 rebounds, and 22 assists in the Nuggets OT win versus the Suns. That is
A wild
crazy.
stat line.
Wow.
And you know what I
Effort.
love the most about it is that he does it so nonchalantly. He's like,
He doesn't actually care about basketball.
He does.
Oh, just
It's
like
a job
like-
for him.
He's like, it's job. I don't think people like their jobs.
Yeah.
How excited you are. Well, I'm excited the season's over so I can go with my horses.
Play with my horses. You know what? He
Respect.
got drafted in the second round. I don't think anyone expected him to be this good because he got drafted in the second round during a Taco Bell commercial. So no one even saw him get picked to the team. So I want
I
Taco
prefer
Bell to
it
do
that
the
way.
funniest thing and like give him a sponsorship or something.
He'd probably be like, I don't care.
He's like,
I have enough money.
yeah, he does.
Just give me a taco.
Shout out Jokic.
And my notes corrected itself to Stephanie Curry. Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors became the assistant general manager for basketball programs at his alumni Davidson College, making him the first active player in a major league sport to be an admin for a D1 school. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then
Stephanie.
that's what I like. I'm like, thanks
Keep looking at
autocorrect. I've trained it to be women's empowerment. So when I say Steph, I mean
That's on
Stephanie.
International Women's Month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hell
I was like,
yeah.
come on. It knows what's up.
If you knew, you knew.
If you knew. Serena Williams becomes part owner of the new WNBA team, Toronto Tempo, making it her fourth major league sports team she has ownership in. And I just love that it's Toronto that she
Yeah.
becomes ownership, because for some reason it feels like a little bit of a fuck you to Drake.
I feel like her husband was fully behind this. He was like, hey,
Hell yeah.
you don't have a WNBA team that you own yet, so let's go
I
for
feel like
Toronto.
they're together. They're probably like masterminds. in it.
She's probably protecting the women from him in that city.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Thank you, Serena.
She's
Thank you.
she's taking over Toronto, so it's actually
Just
hers.
out there with the racket. Like, don't you dare.
Doing the crip walk. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Love it. In society news, Running Point, the new Netflix show, has been renewed for season 2 on Netflix, which is so exciting. I definitely binge watched the first season.
Oh my gosh,
so
so
fun.
good.
Such
Watch
a like
that
a
on one
lighthearted
episode,
fun
too.
thing.
Brenda Song kills it in her role too, by the way.
She does.
All of them,
Badass.
it's
do.
it's
They're
well
all good.
done. In additional Netflix news, Survival of the Thickest, Michelle Batu's show, just got announced. It's coming out with season 2 on March 27th. Guys, I wrote these notes real backwards. Like,
happens.
off the cuff, you can do this. Season 2 is coming March 27th. That's exciting for
I've never
for-
even heard of Survival
That's
of the
it's a
Thickest.
really fun show. It's funny. I
Is
would
it?
recommend. Easy to watch, too.
Go watch it. In sad news, Dolly Parton's partner of over 60 years, Carl Dean, passed away this past weekend at the age of 82. And they were together since they were 18.
So sad.
So sad.
much-
So sending our
So much love to Dolly.
and thoughts
Dolly.
to the family. That's tough. In music news, the boy band Five are reuniting and going on tour. Don't even know anything about
Oh,
them.
that. I'm going to
But-
send you some songs because I know you all weren't like boy band era, like in the 90s and the early aughts, but that raised me. They had a Disney Channel concert too. But Harrison, do you remember Smart House, the Disney Channel movie?
Yes.
So you know the song Slam Dunk the Funk that they danced to?
Absolutely no. I do not
Dun,
remember
dun,
that. I've seen that movie
dun,
over
dun.
20 years ago.
He has like a house party and he's like
Yeah.
dancing to
Okay.
it.
Okay.
You would
That's
know
them.
if you saw the scene.
If you heard the song and saw the scene, you would probably
Okay.
recognize it.
Okay.
That's Five.
I thought he was like the coolest guy
Yeah.
on planet Earth when that was happening.
I was part of the boy band era, but I was anti boy band during the boy band. I
Whoa.
had a concert. I mean, I had a poster in my closet that said NSYNC, but then I turned it with Sharpie and said NSTINK. So I was very like anti boy
Wow,
band.
very
Were you
anti.
into Spice Girls at least then for the girly pops?
Spice Girls was the only one.
Oh, crossover. One of the guys from Five dated Mel C from the Spice Girls.
Look at you.
Exactly.
In Broadway news, Broadway's Wicked welcomes its first time Black Elphaba, which is very exciting. So snaps to
Very
Wicked.
exciting.
I think you're at the end of your highlights. Just for a second, can I get a shot of those nails? Because I've seen your hand. Yeah, fire
I did
flame.
them myself.
You did that
Those
yourself?
look good.
On Sunday. I was like coming out of the basketball season. I was like,
What
I need
the
to get
fuck?
back into my feminine energy. I've been around
Hell
boys
yeah.
too much and coaching and yelling.
Teenage boys.
Yeah. And so I was like, wanted to go get my nails done. And then I was at Walgreens and I was like, why don't I try to do these press-ons for me?
Okay. Well, I clocked them
Ooh.
immediately and it's working. You're immediately
Like
in
this.
feminine energy. You don't need your nails to be, but like
Thank you.
it did its purpose. But what a huddle. Like absolutely amazing. So for today's playbook, we're going to start by breaking down the best sportwear brands. Then we're going to discuss March Madness and we're going to finish with a recap of what the heck F1 is. So I'm going to get us started. I'm going to do our first topic here. Best sportswear brand. I don't know why the fuck that's so hard for me to say.
We'll get there.
But when you think of like sportswear brands, like what do you think of? Because I don't know. I think we can all think of one sports shoe. Our listeners can probably think of like one brand that we wore maybe in like our middle school PE era, even if you're like not a sporty person now. But I, for this part, just did like a really basic Google search to see what would come up because my brain was going everywhere. Like I can think of like all kinds of different things. So I went down and searched what were the big 4 sports brands in the world and which athletes are part of their like campaigns. There's way more, but the big 4 are Nike, Adidas, Puma, and Under Armour, which I think that makes sense, but maybe like the last 2 aren't so popular in America. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like I don't see that too often. Other big players, obviously, were New Balance, Fila, Reebok, and Lululemon. So as I mentioned, there's the big 4. We're going to go into why they're such a big deal. So we'll start with Nike. Nike was founded in 1964. Did I say founded? Founded?
We finded it.
We
founded
it.
It was founded in 1964 in Beaverton, Oregon. So close to us, kind of.
Yeah.
It was originally
Neighbors?
called Neighbors. It's a beautiful bar in Seattle. Was originally called Blue Ribbon Sports and then was changed to Nike in 1971 after like a campaign. So Blue Ribbon Sports is interesting. Their sales for 2024 was $51 billion just for 1 year in 2024.
$1 billion.
Billion, which I was kind of like,
Wow.
whoa.
Okay.
Yeah, whoa.
I have
And
thoughts
then
about
major
that.
athletes that they have as part of their campaign: Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, Sha'Carri Richardson, Sophia Smith, Victor you guys help me with that.
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama. And then, fun fact, you probably both know this. I don't. LeBron James has a lifetime contract with them.
That's
Didn't know
So-
lifetime.
Oh,
just
but shout
forever.
out to Sophia Smith. Her and her football player husband just announced that they are having a baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I did not see that, but cute.
Well, she's a
Snaps
football
for
player
them.
too, I guess, too. So
Yeah, she is. So that's Nike, kind of like the leader of the pack. Then we go to Adidas, which was founded in, I'm not even going to try to say this little town in Germany, but in 1949. In 2024, they had $24 billion in sales. So that's like half of Nike, which just feels wild to me. And then big athletes that they have are Damian Lillard, Rose Zhang, David Beckham, who also has, similar to like LeBron, a lifetime deal with them, Noah Lyles, Patrick Mahomes, Lionel Messi, Billie Jean King, Rebecca Andre won the gold for gymnastics floor, and then
Brazil,
Tom Daley.
right?
So
Oh, and you got Candace
yeah.
Parker's one of the big, and then became the head of basketball,
women, yeah.
women's basketball for Adidas. Yeah.
sure. And then I just didn't see that one. Sorry, guys. And then Puma was
Puma.
also founded in why does it say 48? Maybe it was 1 year before. But this is the crazy part for me when I was doing research. Same little town in Germany as Adidas because they were brothers.
Oh,
So
I didn't
two
know
brothers.
that.
who worked in a factory together, went on and split and did competing. I don't know if there's drama. I'm assuming there's drama if they did two totally different shoe brands. They don't really look the same. So it seems like maybe they had different feelings about what shoes would be cool, but still big four. They made $9 billion in sales for 2024. So that's about, 15 million short of the other brother. No tea, no shade. But do you think he's pissed? I don't know.
I think he's still alive.
I mean, he's still $9 billion.
Well, they're not alive, but I'm sure family stuff, right? They've probably got their kids still going, I'm assuming.
Fair.
So I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe they're like mad at each other in heaven. Who knows? And then big athletes they have are Neymar, Usain Bolt. This one made me laugh. LaMelo Ball. Fridolina Rolfo, Swedish soccer player. And then they also sponsor Team, I'm going to guess, Penske in NASCAR. So they feel like they're like a little bit, I don't want to be shady, maybe just like on the fringes or trying like
they're like,
different.
the underdog.
Yeah.
I feel like
they're trying to get into different markets, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Puma
Well, they
was
have
also
Neymar
bigger,
and Usain, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So they have like a couple biggies.
Yeah.
So that's Puma. And then the last one is Under Armour, which was founded in Washington, D.C. in 1996, which feels later than the others. And they had $5 billion in sales in 2024. So definitely not, on Nike's ground, but
still has time to catch up.
$5 billion.
Young.
You know what I mean? Still has time.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of time. And then big athletes, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Cam Newton, Stephanie, Michaela Phelps. I'm just kidding. Michael Phelps, Lindsey Vonn, Jordan Spieth. So I don't know. When I was like looking at this, it kind of felt like, and maybe these are some of my biases coming out when I was like trying to pick who were still like official athletes of each company. But I felt like Nike like kind of is signing like big women's names and like cool. Adidas seems like they were kind of signing like big men's names. That sounds like a funny, but big men. Big name. I don't know how to say it.
The
big names in men's
name?
sports, but also maybe like less just US based, more world, all around the world. Puma felt like it was trying to hit other markets because they had people who were also like in cricket and like they're not doing just like the traditional sports that maybe we're covering always on the podcast. And then Under Armour just felt like it was, let's get our All-Americans in there. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's fair.
the vibe I had
fair
from
assessment.
the big. That's what I was thinking in my head. One company that I'm interested to watch is the On Running company. I don't know if anyone has seen their shoes. They've got like the Cloud shoes. They're very cute. I have like 3 pairs. They were founded in 2010 in Switzerland. They only have like a couple of athletes right now, but they did just do like a celebrity campaign with Zendaya. And that was very cute. So I'm interested to see. I feel like running shoes kind of go through like fads, or at least lately they have, where like you've always got Nike there, but like Hoka's are kind of the thing it feels like right now. Ons were before. But I'm interested to see. I know those are like the big 4 when it comes to like sales and maybe recognition, but are there any that come to mind, or you have a favorite that I'd like totally missed here, or one of these that you just like identify with?
I don't know if there are any other ones that I know of. Yeah. But I'm also not like that fashionista girl. I will say I love, like, I have a tender heart for the underdog, obviously. So shout out to New Balance and Fila, because to me, those are like the quintessential like 90s brands, right? My jacket at the concert was a Fila jacket. Shout out.
Hell yeah.
But also I like New Balance like for the same reason that like Puma. Reebok. Oh yeah, Reebok too was a big one. But New Balance, like for the same reason that Puma has like the other markets kind of tapped in. I feel like New Balance, they target the players that are not so, they're great players, but they're not the key, like marquee, like stars of every team, except for Shohei. Like Shohei Ohtani is on New Balance. He's the big name. But then they have guys like, Cameron Brink or folks like Cameron Brink.
I was
Guys,
like-
not guys. Cameron Brink, gotta shout her out.
I don't
And
know them.
Her.
Okay.
Her, yeah.
I said
And-
them.
And like Jamal Murray and like Tyrese Maxey, like the names that are not as big, they're still great players. So shout out to New Balance for that. I really appreciate it. And then also, when I think of these brands, like they're all sportswear brands, yes, but I think of the pop culture of it all. Like I think this is where the lines blur a lot more because, like you mentioned, Zendaya is like a ambassador for the On Running company, and I feel like when I think of like Nike, for example, Adidas specifically, I think more pop culture. Those are the things that pop in my head before anything else. Like the Nike swoosh has become its own identity, and I talk about like 24, how many of $1 billion they made. The creator only got a flat fee for that symbol, and like she's not getting any residuals or anything. So I'm kind of mad for her. I would be really pissed. But side note, when I was in Asia this summer, I really wanted to find a pair of off-brand Nike anything because my last name has the same 4 letters as Nike. So I wanted something with the swoosh misspelled Nike. Search continues. Can't find it, but search continues for that. And then, you know, when you think of like Adidas, I think of Run DMC before I think of any of the athletes that you named. Right? With the tracksuits and the like
fair.
the shell tops, like that's what I think of. And I think of them first before I think of any of the sports brand athletes that were listed. And just thinking about how like Jordan brand rolls up under Nike and they've become less popular on the court, those shoes. But they are
like a
really
statement.
popular in like streetwear culture. So it's kind of cool to think about like how things have evolved over time. And like now you have to get into a lottery to get a chance to get a pair of Jordans, which is
It's insane.
what I remember having to line up for them, which was also kind of annoying. But, you know, it's a whole different world out there, I guess. That's what I think of.
And I think when I think some of these brands, I associate them with certain sports. So like Fila, for example, for some reason I associate that with like tennis and maybe golf. Like I feel like some brands that aren't as big have done a good job of like niching out. Like Puma, I think of like soccer, like international soccer. Like, I remember that was more popular. Nike. I mean, what's crazy is Nike was started as a running company, and there's like a whole movie and stuff on like Nike breaking into the basketball world and doing it via an athlete.
Yeah.
Like Jordan. Like that is how they were able to start becoming known and big in the basketball world, is it took them doing it via an athlete versus them being like, hey, we're so cool, you want to be part of Nike. That's how they had to do it. And so for me, I definitely associate Nike, I feel like, did a really good job with that. I mean, you got Michael Jordan. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That just like set them apart as like being the number one basketball shoe. When you think about like Sabrina's, which is also a Nike brand, they're the most worn basketball shoe in the NBA. Like the Kobe's, like all those shoes are Nike. And so they just did a really good job on like, let's then focus on that. Adidas, you know, they're still in like the basketball world. My personal preference has always been Nike because my feet are really narrow, and Adidas in general for sports shoes have been a little bit wider. But then to your point, Wahida, when I think of Adidas, I definitely match it with like their tracksuits and their apparel more than their shoes. Like I see like iconic Adidas, and then Under Armour. The only reason why it's in the basketball world or in like, I feel like Steph Curry. I also think Angel Reese might have just recently signed with Under Armour.
I think she signed with Reebok. Nika Mule just signed with Under Armour.
Okay. So, yeah, I think my biggest thing, too, that I'm curious if this is still a thing, is I remember back in the day, you couldn't logo clash. So it's kind of like you had to commit, like to wear like an Adidas shirt and Nike shoes was like a big no-no. And is that, because like literally I was getting dressed the other day, and I was like, Andrea was over and I was like, I had Adidas shoes and I was wearing like a Nike top or something, or a Nike hat. And I was like, is this okay? Am I clashing? Like,
I can't tell if we're just getting old now, though.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't care.
Because I wore Nikes with my Fila jacket. I don't care.
Yeah, I've gotten to that now.
Well, I don't know. That's my question. Is it?
I don't
Is
know the
that
children.
The kids
it a
have to
true
let us
thing?
know.
Yeah,
I
like
think,
let us
I
know.
do recall it being a thing, right? Like you could not clash. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that was so much like cultural or if it was because we were looking to the athletes and they couldn't clash, right? Like if you were an ambassador of a brand, you couldn't wear another brand's shoes, right? I don't think that would make a lot of
Good
sense. I
point.
think some brands now where there's teams that have contracts with different brands and then a player will have a contract with the brand, I think they do some, clashing, if you will. Because like Ant, for example, I think teams are Nike, right? I think the Olympic team was Nike or something like that. And then he is an Adidas brand athlete. So I think he does some like mixing of the different labels. But one thing that I was thinking about was like, how do they determine which players get like shoe brand or like their own brand, like Curry, for example, versus who is just an ambassador? Because now Steph Curry is signing athletes under Curry brand, which is under Under Armour.
I think it depends on popularity.
Because like maybe
that's just like
being in the market. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
Well, because ambassador means they're not having to create a new line or a new product that then is going to sell, right? They just got to wear current like that. They're like a billboard in a sense. Whereas like a new product, you got to make sure that you have the star power to be able to sell said new shoe line or new line. So that's why you're Asia Wilson just getting her new like shoe and like Sabrina getting her new shoe, like or having her own shoe line. That's because she has the popularity and the punch to like get, and then it's like good shoes too. Like people have their own shoe in like Nike, and people that especially functional can be like, this is a shit shoe. Like
this is a
shit
Let's
shoe.
talk about shiz.
It shiz. So I think it all like depends, but New Balance was never one. I didn't get on it. It's always felt like the old man shoe.
But that's why I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask one other question? Sure. I know this is extending it, but like, did anyone feel like when I think of Under Armour, all I see is like a 7th grade boy. I don't know if it's because all the boys in my middle school were wearing them. Like the little like Under Armour, like I feel like Under Armour was synonymous with like the tights, like either the legs or
I think
I just remember them wearing that.
That's what they were known for. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just remember that's all boys were wearing in our PE class. We had to like run the mile in, Seattle, Washington at fucking 7 a.m. or whatever.
I also like Champion, the brand Champion.
Yes.
Oh. So I feel like that, like I have like a little white kind of crop tank Champion, and then like I feel like they're white like sweatshirts, and their sweatshirts were iconic. So I think brands that can find their niche within a certain kind of style is where they do the best. Because like Champion brand sweatshirts, I think are definitely I don't know if they still are, but I think at a period of time they were like,
I completely forgot about that.
I think again, not so much as a sport brand, but like as a streetwear brand. Like they are still really popular out there.
I think you're right.
All right.
Damn.
Well, I'm going to transition us to our next topic, and that is talking about March Madness, everyone.
It's mad out here.
Are you ready for March Madness to begin? Or what? Because it's already been an exciting, wild week leading up to Selection Sunday, which is coming up on the 16th.
It's the reaping.
So,
not again.
In my, oh my God. In preparation, in my opinion, this is the best time in basketball, the best ever. Like better than NBA Finals, Olympics, WNBA Finals. March Madness is the pinnacle of basketball because it's just so good. It's just so good. So I'm gonna break down how brackets are selected, why everyone's kind of freaking out right now, and kind of in preparation to filling your own bracket, what to kind of be mindful of so you don't end up with a busted one. Which do you know what a busted bracket means? Yeah,
the
that
case.
happens to everyone. I think the odds of actually it not having a busted bracket is like crazy. Like that never happens. Which a busted bracket just means that you fill out your bracket, and as soon as your predictions are wrong, then you have a busted bracket.
Which
So
is usually for me the first weekend of the
with
play.
most people, tournament basketball is different because everyone's just putting it all on the line. There's Cinderella stories, upsets, underdogs. It's just so great. So right now what's going on is conference tournaments. So remember when we were talking last week, women's basketball, South Carolina and Texas had to do a coin floss?
A coin floss.
Coin toss.
Kind of a new thing that they're implementing.
Toss a twin.
A toss a twin. For the number one. That was seeding. That was seeding for the conference tournament. But don't worry, South Carolina showed that they were number one, beating Texas in the tournament. So for March Madness, for like the bracket play, there's 68 teams that make it in that initial bracket. And then 32 have automatic bids coming from the conference champions. So if you win your conference, you are an automatic bid, 32. So that's why this week is really crazy, because some teams that's the only way they would get into the championship is if they win the conference, because that's an automatic bid. And then there's 36 at-large bids given by the selection committee. And the selection committee is made up of usually like school athletic directors and conference commissioners. And this is now similar for men's and women's. It wasn't always the same kind of selection process for like women's and men's brackets, but it is like a similar process. So then the committee, that's why it all comes down to the selection Sunday. So 32 automatic, and then the committee is selecting, and they put they're selecting the other 36, and they're selecting seeding. So like what seed level. So just because you were number one in regular season, just because you won that doesn't guarantee what seed the selection committee will place you at. So then that's why Selection Sunday is such a big deal. Like on the NCAA and certain things, there's like literally a countdown to Selection Sunday.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that done by like do they have like a matrix that they score?
Okay. I'm glad you asked. I'm getting there.
Oh, great. Thank you.
This is a calm your panties.
I'm so excited to learn about this.
So
I just cannot wait.
The committee puts the teams in 4 regional divisions. So then how the brackets, there's like top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. So that's kind of
Chelsea
like
already.
That's the 4. I'm
trying to visualize.
Like when you're looking at a bracket, that's what the 4 are. And then they seed them from 1 through 16 in each of those 4 quadrants. So seeding and those metrics are determined by record, strength of schedule, and
strength and honor,
and net rating, which is like the overall efficiency by combining offensive and defensive performance. So say you scored 100 points in one, but the other team scored 80 points, then say 20 points is your net score.
I would hate the job to be on the selection committee like that.
And that's just part of it. So there's parts of yes, there's a matrix, but then there's also people trying to be then this team strength of schedule, that means the type of opponents that you face, and that can, it's some people when the seeding comes out,
so subjective.
Yes. Mm-hmm. There's ones that are okay, we know these teams are going to be in. For example, UCLA just beat USC, and they secured the bid. Yep,
they did. Oh,
yep. UCLA women
Juju
beat
must
USC.
Be pissed.
Yep. So UCLA gets an automatic bid, but USC is going to definitely be in the tournament. But where they're seated at is all who's to say. So that's another exciting thing.
The committee.
The committee usually tries to snake draft placement, aside from making sure the first 4 teams from the same conference are in different regions if they are number 1 through number 4 seeds.
Okay. That makes sense.
I know. So if they're from number 1 and number 4, because usually if there's a number like 5 and 6, they might in the same region. They might be in the same quadrant. Let me just put that. But if it's a 1 through 4 within the same conference, they're not going to be in the same quadrant initially. They'll have to like go until. So then that's kind of like the breakdown right now this week. At the time of recording, we only have 8 teams from women's and 5 teams from men's we know that have the automatic bids. Conference play is happening now. So that's like really exciting. There's already been like upsets and crazy
right?
games. Yeah, which is really awesome. And then for March Madness itself with a bracket, you're right, you have the 68, but then the Sweet 16 Final Four, what is the round of 8 called? Elite 8, thank you. Sweet 16.
I was like, there's no way they go from 16 to 4.
No. I was like, but you have the initial giant bracket, which is exciting. But then when
it just gets crazier.
But when you get the Sweet 16, is kind of like when the real, not the real tournament, but that's like the exciting shit.
It becomes
where you
real
want to try to make
there.
to the Sweet 16, yeah, and then Elite 8, and then the championship. So that's all to say, we'll be filling out brackets. I feel like that's a very popular thing. You don't need to know anything about basketball because you'll be given the teams and you just got to say, who do you think will win?
Me, I've done it once before,
Look at
maybe
you.
twice.
Done it a few times, yeah. For different, I use different, like...
methodologies?
Yes, every time.
Absolutely.
Jerseys.
Sometimes I
Do I
just
like
look
their
at the
mascot?
numbers.
Yep.
Sometimes it's like the underdog one or...
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a breakdown of what to expect or like understanding of how we get to kind of the March Madness and the brackets. So how we get to where we're going.
Can I ask a question? Are you watching this thing on, I can't even remember what it's called, the Selection Sunday?
No.
Are you tuning in?
No. I don't.
You don't want to watch the raping?
Not mad enough.
She's not mad.
I don't usually like to like watch things like drafts and like I'm like, just tell me what the results are. I don't need to be in anticipation. So
she says no anxiety here.
No anxiety.
No.
Holy shit. Okay.
I mean, the name absolutely fits the tournament because it is very mad. Like, I feel like I go mad listening up to like what's happening because everything moves so quickly, I feel, right? Because they have like certain weeks where they play individual rounds and it just happens all at the same time, especially in the first initial rounds. So I never feel like I can keep up with what's happening because it happens so quickly and I'm just not plugged in enough. And there's so many teams, right? There's so many possible teams that could play.
Well, that's why. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say something stupid. Sometimes like your phone will alert you like they're out. And I'm like, I wasn't even paying attention. Like, who the fuck are they?
And now
I'm
sad
say,
all of
like,
a sudden.
Well, yeah, and now I feel bad for these people who lost. I wasn't anticipating that in the middle of a Wednesday. I'll also say, like, do you think the committee has like kind of like a little like thing in the background where they're like, let's try to make the players mad. It's March Madness, so let's like rate them too. You know, is there like a little element that maybe we're not fully in? Because you're saying like Juju is probably pissed. It's gonna make the tournament more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and who knows what USC's seating is going to be because of that. I think there's always people that talk about, because again, these are made up of athletic directors, commissioners, and stuff. So there is for sure bias. So some people are like, what the fuck is the seeding? Because your seeding can really impact like the next seed you're going to play in those first rounds.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I mean, like, if you're in the top, I can't, like, you'll get like a first round, like you'll get a bye, like if you're a higher seed, but it still is a tournament play, is you lose and you're out. And to your point, like the first 68 for both men and women, it's just basketball. You watch TV, it's on all the time. Like you can't actually keep up with it, which is so kind of exciting. And like they're tuning into ends of games and like the upsets. It's very emotional. Like I will always cry every March Madness because when you're watching teams, especially like seniors and stuff, like their season end at the end, especially when they lose by like a game winner buzzer, and that's how they lose or things like that. And then all of a sudden you just see like people just break down in tears.
Just
That
lose their
I
shit.
just that
Yeah.
kills me. Like that part of sport, knowing like this is it. That was
You
the
know-
end of their season.
I am though so much more impressed by, I feel like, a NCAA like championship, because there's so many more variables than if you were to get a championship at the pro level, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
there's so few teams for like the
Hard
NBA
work
and
can't
the
just get you there.
WNBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like this like feels like the stakes are a little bit higher, and so that feels really
Yeah.
impressive. So I can understand where the pressure is coming from. And then also thinking about, on the other hand, like the players that have 3 or 4 under their belt, or like that get one their freshman year and they lead their teams to a championship, like Carmelo Anthony, his first and only year he played college, like took his team
Wow.
to the championship, right? They won it, I think, that year. So it's always really impressive, like, to think about it in that way. But also I understand that, like, the despair when you lose, because it's like, damn, we worked hella hard to get here. Like, the
and it's
hardest
like
I've ever
one.
worked. Yeah.
It's one. There's so many games that you're just kind of playing
Yeah.
back to back to back, and you only get one game. It's not like best of 5, best of
Mhm.
7, best of 3.
Mhm.
It's like one, and then you're out.
Done.
So it's
Yeah.
like anything in basketball, anything can happen.
Can I ask one gross question? This could be totally cut out. Was
Yeah?
March Madness where that guy's leg snapped? Do you
Like
remember?
last
It
year?
literally was like
I don't remember.
I don't
Kevin.
remember.
Is his name Kevin Ware?
Khalil Ware? Is that right?
I thought it was March Madness. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. See, I don't like those injuries, so I never replay them.
I hate replaying injuries.
I don't know.
I think it is Kevin Ware, but I don't know.
Kevin Ware, Louisville
You
player,
guys,
breaks
it was during the Elite Eight game against
Oh.
Duke.
Yeah,
back
last
in
season.
Sorry, I just
2013. Damn.
Oh, okay. That
it
was a long
scarred
time
me.
ago.
Obviously, that's
Wow,
the
yeah,
reason.
clearly.
It's
It's
like
throwback. I was 12 years ago. You're like, do you remember? Wow, way to shame us real hard right there. Do you
I
not
just was
remember
like-
2013?
That was a mic drop if I've ever heard one. Like,
Okay, call us out, Chels.
all right. Well,
I watched the video and that's why I remember,
It
because
stuck
I was
with you,
I think I
clearly.
almost threw up. Yeah.
That's fair.
well,
Good vibes to
from
him.
one
Anyways.
intense like time of the season to another intense sport, I'm gonna shift gears if you all are ready for that. To F1, aka Formula One. Oh yeah, you count that? Shift
We're
gears.
here
Yeah.
for fun.
She was like waiting for us. She was like,
Yeah, anyone?
I'm gonna shift gears.
Shift gears. But
That's
I'll
clever.
admit, I knew nothing about Formula One before I started digging into this. And this is kind of why I wanted to get into it, because I've been hearing more and more about this goddamn sport everywhere. So it obviously piqued my interest, because, like, in my mind, how the heck are cars just going around in circles that interesting? Right? So I needed to understand the science and the sport behind it. But when I dug into it, there's science to it. But I learned, I
Get in there,
realized that it's not just about speed and finishing the race, but it's all lot, again, like other sports, about strategy and endurance that I never thought about. Why is that so funny?
Oh, I was laughing because you're like, it's not about speed and quickness.
mine
it's about
it's not.
it's about
It's killing me.
endurance. And I was like, hell yeah,
It is.
that's
Hell
what
yeah.
I prioritize.
And stamina. Yes.
It's stamina. It's not about size of the car. It's about how it endures.
Speed.
big men in their big cars with their big stamina.
Okay. Okay, let me tell you about it, though. Here, I'm a little
Hell
bit more of a
yeah.
fan
Yeah,
now
please.
because I learned a
Geez.
little bit. That's what I'm here for, y'all. So Formula One, like we were talking about,
learner.
the tournament, the March Madness being the pinnacle of college basketball, right? Formula One is the
Yep.
pinnacle of motorsport. Think
insane.
of it as the NBA, the NFL, and the Premier League of auto racing.
Think about it like Nicki Minaj has a song about
Yes.
it.
Yeah, she wrote a song about it. But it's a global competition, and it features 20 of the fastest drivers in the world racing high speed, high tech cars. And the wild thing about these cars is that I'll get into it a little bit more, but they're not encased by anything, so the drivers could see the track, which is wild to me, especially at how fast they're going. So all of these cars can go up to 220 plus miles an hour on the track. The season consists, right, wrap your head around that. The season consists of 24 races, or as they call them, the Grand Prix, which is, what? Like, are they all
There's
Grand?
multiple? I thought there was one Grand Prix.
No.
There's 24. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm like, which one is actually
it.
grand if they're all grand, actually? It was kind of confusing. But all of these races happen across different countries because, again, it's a global sport. And each prix, if you will, is like a tournament, mini tournament. So they have their practice race, they have a qualifying race, and then they have the actual race at the end of the weekend. Yep. And all of the tracks are different. So like some of them focus on speed and like churning, like your, what are they calling? Cornering. And then others are like all about like straightaways. So how fast you can go through them. So they're built differently across all of the different countries. And then the season usually goes from March to November. So we're starting off the season, I think this weekend. I think there's a race this weekend. But what I thought was originally an individual sport, because, you know, like when you see racing, I always see the driver. I don't really think about anything else that goes into it.
So you never watched Talladega Nights, did you? I'm just kidding.
Can't say I did. So you're right. But anyway.
I don't know if you need to, but
okay, I'll put it lower on the priority list then.
For sure. Yeah.
But there are 10 teams. Each team has 2 drivers, meaning there are 20 cars on the grid for each race. So again, 20 cars to start with the qualifying and all of that. And the teams are also called constructors because the teams are not necessarily people that are part of the driving component, but they're part of constructing the car, which is also a really huge part of the sport. Unlike other sports where like the equipment plays a supporting role, like you need a baseball bat, you need like certain like, you know, shoes and things of that sort. There's regulation balls and things of that sort, but there are regulation balls.
I thought you meant in the sport of racing. My bad.
In other sports.
I was like, really?
But like the cars are as crucial as the drivers, and they spend a lot of money. Like we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars to design these cars to make sure that they're aerodynamic, that they have the right engine, that the tires are the right tires, because that all of that, in addition to the driver, dictate the speed, the grip, and the handling.
This is science.
Yeah, this is science.
Yeah.
Is it?
You're not
Grip
wrong.
and handling?
Yeah, aerodynamics.
Science.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, okay, and then
being naughty.
me too.
She
My
hates
brain's
cars.
in a whole different place. But because these cars, here's science, because these cars are designed to be so light and fast, the cars have to be designed to have like a downward force so that they can like stay on the track when they're turning the corners at the speeds that they're corning.
Otherwise, it makes fly.
Yeah, like they would lift off, literally. Like literally. And like with the tires, so the tires are designed like to help with that, and they're also designed for performance. So they're not like they're not built for longevity. They can last like 40 to 80 miles at most. So they have to stop for different pit stops. Obviously, we see that. They happen very quickly, as you all know.
A crazy thing to watch is a pit stop.
Yeah, the pit stop.
So cool.
And they have like, they recruit certain players, like they have former athletes that come and be part of the pit teams because you have to have
cool as hell.
That kind of like reflex and stuff. But they have to strategize these pit stops because otherwise like a few seconds can impact the entire race, right? Like can throw it off completely. So that was one interesting thing for me. I was like, whoa, this is brand new information. Makes it a little bit more intriguing. And then like soccer, we were talking about how the scoring happens. So with Formula One racing, there are 2 ways to win at the end of the season. The driver can get a win, which is called the Drivers' Championship. That goes to the driver with the most points at the end of the season. And then a team, so the constructors, could also win. And that goes to the most combined points at the end of the season for a team. And then like it's like staggered like point system. So like first place of a race gets 25 points, second place gets 18, and then so on and so forth. And then you can also get points for being the fastest lap, which I don't really completely understand. That like,
can I just clarify one other thing? There's 20 cars on the thing at the same time.
there's 20 cars for the qualifying to start. And then after the qualifier, there's a
At the same
smaller
time?
number.
I don't think so.
No,
I think
they
no,
run.
no.
they
It's
do
Okay, I was
it
like, how the
it's
fuck
in
do they fit on that thing?
what's it
No.
called? In waves? What are they called?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Heats.
laps. Yeah,
Yeah.
heats. There you go. Yeah. So a lot of science behind that part of it, like the actual racing and stuff. But then I also thought about like, okay, because I was only aware of the driver, I had also always thought about like what makes them an athlete in this sport. You're driving a car.
True.
Like what is the athleticism that comes into play here? I like legitimately did not get it. But they have all the same kind of like needs as other players, right? Their reflexes have to be so quick. I learned that F1 Formula drivers have the quickest reflexes of all athletes because they have to respond in milliseconds at like 200 plus miles an hour. Like if you think about it, a baseball
Jesus
player
Christ.
at bat is hitting a ball that's coming at them at 100 miles an hour, likely, but they're the only person doing that, right? They don't have 10 other cars around them that are all still going at the same speed as them, right? And cutting corners and stuff. Their stamina is also required because the races are nearly 2 hours and they don't get breaks like other sports. They're in the car the entire time, no breaks, extreme heat. They're wearing fireproof suits because the cars could combust at any moment if they hit anything.
Christ.
And like a helmet, right? And again, not encased in any way. They're just like, it's open. There's like a cage, but it's still very much open. They also have to be incredibly strong because this one is wild. When they churn corners at the speeds that they do, that generates up to 5 Gs of force, which is 5 times their body weight, and their necks sustain most of that impact. So they have to be really strong just to hold on to the freaking car and turn, yeah, which is wild. And I learned that these athletes, I respect athletes.
Hell yeah.
They lose weight after a race because of all
That
of
makes
this.
sense.
They like
How would they
after a
not?
single race. Yeah, it's wild. Then of
Probably
course their
drop at least
focus is
5 pounds.
required. One
Try to lose 5 pounds by
hold.
proud.
Yeah. And then of course their focus is really important here because they have to make decisions on a split second because all of the tracks are different. So it's not like they know exactly what's coming up, I think. I mean, they get their practice run, they get the qualifying, they have to get those like under their belt. So they have an idea, but like things like when you're in traffic, things change quickly and we're only going 60 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like that's wild to me.
Like maximum.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of respect to F1 drivers now. It is, I think, one of the most intense and dangerous sports out there. And it's wild to think about. People put themselves in that position to do that. But one thing that I was curious about and I want to learn more of is like when it comes to the tracks, I wonder how the team and the pit stops, like I wonder how teams strategize for that. Like for other sports, you can watch tape and like, scout other players and teams and draw up game plans. But like, how do they do that for a track? They calculate like how fast you're probably going to go, how much wear and tear the tires could take, like all of that stuff. That's intriguing. Yeah. See, the science is there. It's intriguing.
Science.
But first race is this week, so I might actually tune in.
What
do y'all think?
Wahida,
Yeah.
This has been really helpful, but I'm also super surprised that you did not get into the drama side of F1 because Wahida, the drama is drama-ing.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh my gosh, I don't know everything or anything. I know practically nothing. But
she knows there's drama.
Netflix show.
I know that there's drama.
Well, the Netflix show F1, go watch it, the series. Okay. And that's where I got my first introduction to it because my friends were watching it. And I was like, F1, since when do you care about F1? They're like, look, this show it follows the drivers because you got like Team Mercedes, Team Ferrari, and
Red Bull.
Drama between, and like Lewis.
Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton
also dated Nicki Minaj. That's why she did motorsport, probably. Oh my god!
And he also dated Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls.
Yeah,
he's like one of the most popular and one of the best drivers. Like he's won all of it. But I just feel like recently people were making like, there'll be headlines of like so-and-so was released by Mercedes, or I feel like Lewis Hamilton just changed teams.
What's that little cutie that's like the big guy right now?
I don't know. See, I
don't
like
know
I
his
said,
name.
I'm here for the science right now.
You're
Yeah,
here
I'm
for the
here for
science,
science.
but you need to go for the
Bill Nye.
hotties of like one Lewis Hamilton,
The
the
sport.
hottie that is Lewis Hamilton.
Maybe that's my 201 course.
Mercedes. He went from Mercedes, which he had been to Ferrari, and that was such a big
deal.
drama.
Ooh.
And because it's like, okay, those seasons do well, but if you don't perform really well, you might get dropped by the team, and there's only 2 drivers.
I like Lando.
Watch F1 on Netflix.
Okay.
It will get, and I think that was really smart of Netflix to do a show on that, because it got people a lot more engaged in watching F1
in the sport,
because it's their athleticism and the science is really cool, but the drama and the personalities is even better.
You know I watch sports for the drama, so that might be my 201 crash course that I need to get into, but I needed to understand the sport first for me to even be intrigued by the drama, I think.
For your 201, can you add how the fuck somebody gets started in this? Are they riding a tricycle as a child and then someone's like, get them in a car?
There is a docu-series on Lewis Hamilton, so I would happily do my research and watch.
Only if you want. I mean,
you know,
that's
like
a little... Can I also say, like, oh, no, go. You go.
No, I was just going to say to Arison, to your point, this sport draws in like 5 million viewers every year. And that is, I think a lot of the reason is because they are a global sport. Like these races happen in different cities across the world. So it's not relegated to a certain like country or like state or city. And the teams are brands, right? So they're not necessarily like, oh, my hometown team. I'm like rooting for a brand.
True.
And I think the documentary was probably a large reason why so many more women are tuning in, because I also read that that's increased a lot this past few years too.
I remember being in Singapore for work, and so much was shut down because the Grand Prix was coming, and they were doing it in the streets of Singapore, and I was like, what is this? This is crazy.
So
are they doing one in Las Vegas?
Am
I crazy?
No, they do them in like a lot of major cities.
Like the strip into it. I swear to God.
So the rate, that's I think an additional like fun piece of it is that a lot of the tracks, like Indy 500 is like on a track, right? Like you go to a racetrack. This, they churn the city into, it's like Grand Theft Auto, but in real life.
Watch out when you're there, I guess. Okay, one other thing. I was going to say, I rode the bullet train in Japan this almost a year ago. And that I think goes like 170 maybe. And literally me trying to like walk to the bathroom.
It's a workout.
Like could not. I was like scared. Like I was like, I don't know if I could go. Sean's like, what the fuck? So mad respect that they're going. I can't even get up and try. And then 2, all I'm thinking is like whoever made Ted Lasso needs to make a show about like an ex-pro athlete retiring and then being like, what's your next move? Pit crew. And like that shit would be fucking funny.
Mindy Kaling, get on it. I feel like you killed it on a running point, but I would be so good. The drama in like a running or pit crew.
And no one's expecting that.
Let's get into pit. We can get into pit crews. That's a whole different conversation because literally they have one job. Like everyone on a pit crew has one responsibility. That's it.
Screw I could do that.
Yeah, that's it.
I
Take a screw off, one screw. That's it. Like it's so.
It's because they do it so quick. They have to.
Man. Anyway, I guess there's a lot more to learn there. So I'm definitely going to do some more digging about F1 because now I'm kind of sold. I'm intrigued. But for today, we'll wrap it up because, you know, we want you all to get on your days as well. So let us know what stories you want to cover next week or the weeks following. But keep an eye out for F1 stuff from me.
All right. And don't forget to hit follow and subscribe to our show on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, and turn on notifications so you can stay up to date on all the latest sports and society stories and get ready to start filling out those brackets next week.
Oh, shit.
Woo! And please, please, please rate the pod. But in the meantime, stay sharp, stay sassy, and we'll catch you next time.